everybody, and welcome to this episode of Romantasy Roundtable, a tale of Rick and Roses. Don't forget, if you've liked what you've heard so far, to hit that subscribe button and make sure to give us a like. I'm here with my roses.
Amanda.
And Kim.
Who's not leading. So we have an early episode for you this week because, we're not even on a weekly schedule. We're just on a when we read schedule, right? So we have an earlier episode now because we're picking up the pace. We like this. I like this book so far. It's getting better, but we want to get to Fourth Wing, right? That's the goal?
That's the goal.
That's the goal. How's everybody's morning?
Excellent. Thank you.
My class went really well, but I am starting. I don't know if you've seen those reels where like teachers list the ridiculous things they've said to students, but I'm going to make one. So I started tracking ridiculous things I said to students.
I think it's a fantastic idea.
Any early spoilers?
Yeah, my students were not doing their work and were instead watching a video about elaborate Japanese apologies.
What?
It's like the best way I can describe it is it's parkour, but for apologizing.
Hardcore.
Like
Parkour.
Yeah, parkour. And so I said, I'm going to make you elaborate Japanese apologize to me for not doing your work.
Love that.
Which is how I feel. She didn't elaborate Japanese apologize to me for not doing her work.
Well, I read this book, and we read
we read 6 chapters.
We read 6 chapters. Spoiler alert: we're reading more for next week's episode.
So this was chapters 7 through 12 that we read of the book we're reading, which is called From Blood and Ash, and it's
Court
by
of Blood and Ash.
Jennifer Armentrout.
And before we even go there, I think it's getting better. I like it. I'm going to say I like it. You had a different opinion, right?
I think it's getting better. I'm not sure I am entertained by it. I'm not sure I like it yet. Kim?
So Rick, I think, was the first of the 3 of us to finish the homework for this week. And the way that he hyped it up, I thought that it was going to be like super action-packed and exciting.
The first chapter was.
I didn't feel that way. So I'm with Amanda in that I think it's getting better.
Yeah, I also, in general, feel like, I don't know, I felt like the idea, spoilers for what we're going to talk about in a few minutes, but, my big takeaway from these 6 chapters was I felt like she spent 2.5 chapters being like, is Hawk going to be my guard? Oh, no, is Hawk going to be my... It's like, obviously he's going to be your guard.
She doesn't know that. She's a character.
Sure, but we didn't need to, oscillate over it.
Ocelot is from Metal Gear.
Yeah, Ocelot is a...
And also a cat.
It's a cat. Also, that's not even the word that I wanted to use.
Revolver Ocelot.
She wasn't oscillating. She wasn't going back and forth. She was just...
Fixating. Obsessing.
Apparently I clap.
So, all right. So chapter 7, right? This is when Ryland was where we stopped. Oh my God, he had arrow through the chest. Guess what? He's dead, guys.
He's dead fast.
He's gone. He's
Again,
gone.
I said this last week, but I thought he was going to be a main character. There was exposition about him. There was some backstory there. Yeah. There was banter. And then a chapter later, he is dead.
He got dead good.
Yeah. Rip.
But they had a good fight. I like that fight.
Oh, the fight between Poppy and...
Guy.
The creature, the thing.
Okay, so to give some actual story here, so the attacker tries to kidnap Poppy after he kills Rylan.
Mm-hmm.
And then Poppy ends up fighting him with her secret ninja skills.
Yep.
And I would argue they, again, have the most insipid dialogue ever.
Yeah, it's
as
not
she
great.
just watched her friend being killed, and then she's like, I'll see you next time. What? Yeah, it just didn't feel genuine.
Yeah. I thought the fight was good, but I also was like, there was a line where she was like, and he let out a noise that was unlike any noise I've ever heard from a human. And I think this was the first moment that I wrote this note down, which was there's too many bad guys in this story. There's too many groups of bad guys. There's too many individual bad guys. There's too many bad guys in the story, and I can't keep them all straight.
There's a lot of people, I will say.
So this guy, we think, is is a dissenter.
Yeah, so dissenter is what? Like back in the day, there were like some kings or something like that?
Yeah, they're the followers of the Dark Prince guy.
The Dark One.
The Dark One. The
Prince
of
Castiel.
Caspian.
Right, that's what I say, Prince Caspian.
Yeah.
Not the bad guy.
No.
He's not going to be the bad guy.
You don't think he's the bad guy?
No, he's not going to be the bad guy.
Okay.
No, not going to happen.
But
Okay.
this guy was also probably an Atlantean.
Based
Because
on
there is overlap.
yeah.
Right.
And he's let out a non-human noise.
And then she went to get the arrow, and it had the Dark One's promise, and it said, "From blood and ash we shall rise." It's the name of the book.
That's the name of the book.
It's the name of the book.
Yeah.
Guys, it's the name of the book.
That's the name of the
They
book.
tied it in together.
They did it.
And the entire series.
That's right. All right, so then what happens? All right, so then the next chapter, she attends this guy's funeral, Ryland, and then Hawk comes, which you guys, it hasn't happened yet, but you guys are like, oh, she's going to be her new protector, right? It hasn't happened yet, but she's feeling feelings, right?
She's very obsessively concerned about him recognizing her and reporting her to the Duke, who seems to be quite abusive.
Oh my God, yeah. He's rough when we get there, yeah.
We like spent some time with the Duchess in this chapter, and she seems chill.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel differently about her the next chapter, but in chapter 9 she seems chill, and Poppy is very concerned about Hawk recognizing her, even though she's like at her bestie's funeral, which feels blah to me.
Well, and you said that she spends like 2 chapters agonizing whether he's going to be the new personal guard or not.
Yeah.
But she spends like all of these chapters that we just read agonizing about whether he's going to recognize her.
Yeah,
That's true. She's very concerned about
that's what she's concerned about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was an interesting scene so basically what you just said also happened in chapter 9. So you guys are kind of right, where they're like, she spent a bunch of time just talking about Hawk and like, is he gonna recognize me? Because that bled into chapter 9 a lot. As in, like, I'm looking at our notes for chapter 9, and it's kind of the same thing as chapter 8, right? So let's see. Chapter 10. This is actually, I found this chapter a little bit boring, I think it was. When they get to the Duke and Duchess, I get kind of like, who are they? What are they doing? What's going on? Like now I can't keep track of people.
Yeah, so the Duke and Duchess are ascendeds
Right.
who are her legal guardians, it seems. She's like a ward of them.
Yeah.
And they seem to hold like our notes say city council session. I don't recall it being called that, but they're holding like some kind of audience.
Oh, this was good.
For the people of their town.
Yeah.
And we get some backstory about the structure of the world again, and we find out. So this couple comes forward, and they ask. Basically, they had a child, and that child died, and they had another child, and that child died. So they ask that their third child not be taken for the right.
And it's always the third child.
So I
think.
wrote, third kids equals priests, second kids equals right equals court, ? So it's like, it sounds like there's a path for the second child and a path for the third child. But then later, it's unclear to me if you're allowed to have, like, is it only if you have 2 sons? Like if you have a son and a daughter, are they both your first son and your first daughter? Or it has to be like your second child?
I think it's just second and third child.
Okay.
So my understanding was the second born becomes the lady or lord in wait.
Okay.
And then the third born is given to the gods and so becomes the priest in the temple and is supposed to go as a baby.
Yeah. So they were basically like, please don't take our baby. We have no more babies.
Right.
And the Duke and Duchess were like, no.
Yeah, they're like, too bad.
Yeah. We also got in this chapter begins with Poppy describing the ceiling painting, and she describes who each of the gods are and what they're gods of. Fun fact about me, I love that shit. So I was really happy to hear about the gods, and I don't have the actual book in front of me, and I didn't highlight it even if I did. When she's describing the gods, there's 2 twins, and they're the gods of the same stuff. They're like they're both the gods of war and peace,
Cool.
but they're different words, which I thought was very cool. And in Greek mythology, Apollo and Artemis are twins. The end. That's my whole thought about gods.
I liked that. I did feel the way that she presented it was like a laundry list.
Yes.
And so I was like, I am never going to remember this.
Yeah.
Because these are just rando names and what they are the god of.
Agreed.
So I do wish it was, I wish that there was more backstory and context. So
you
it's
also
easier.
get the sense that like the gods interact with people.
Oh my God,
more.
that's what I was about to ask. Yeah.
And so like I'm interested to see like if we're actually going to interact with the gods or if they're more like a Sky Daddy situation.
Yeah, I wrote that because I highlighted a quote, and then they say like when they're talking to them, this people begging for their son's life. I think it's a son. They say you can speak with the gods on our behalf, and I say like, and I question like, wait, they speak with the gods? Is this like we're just telling the people this so we can control them, or like I actually hadn't considered, do they actually speak with the gods?
But also like doesn't the Pope speak to God?
Right. I took
Right.
that as sort of the like
Yeah.
metaphorical
Right.
direct line to the gods. But that's not actually like we're having a conversation.
Or what if it's like
We're
a
besties.
what if it's like a Wizard of Oz situation where like the gods are these people pulling some strings in the back or something like that?
Maybe.
I don't know.
We also learned a little bit about Poppy's parents. I guess her mom was supposed to ascend and she turned it down so
Right.
she could be with Poppy's dad because the ascended can bear no children, which was interesting. We also learned that the ascendeds only come out at night, which feels a little vampire-y.
It's true.
And they also say that they're descendants of the gods by blood, if not by birth. That's the only thing I wrote down. By blood, if not by birth. And I thought that was interesting because usually by blood and by birth mean the same thing, right? Like
Yeah.
your blood family is your birth family, your bio family.
Yeah.
So if they're family by blood but not by birth, that feels vampire-y.
Yeah, I
also.
hadn't considered that.
And their eyes turn a creepy dark color.
Yes. And
Which
the vampires,
also made me think of vampires.
yeah, / the demons from Supernatural.
Well, I think
Zombies.
I think the Ascended will probably be different than the vampires, but I wrote down Ascended are the bad guys. I think they're going to be the bad guys.
Yeah, I think also like we already know there's 2 kinds of vampires, so why can't there be 3 kinds of vampires?
Yeah. Well, I think true.
I think everyone's a vampire.
I
Poppy
think,
doesn't know it
Except
yet,
for
but
Poppy.
she's also a vampire.
I mean,
think-
she was attacked. So she has a gift.
My thing is more like I think the Ascended are going to be the bad guys, but we don't realize it because from her perspective, they're the good guys. But like from the rest of the world, they might be the bad guys.
Well,
I think.
to be fair to her, I don't think she necessarily thinks they're the good guys.
Oh, okay.
Like, I think she has a lot of questions.
Yeah.
She's very negative about the Duke, of course, but even the Duchess, who she claims is sort of nice, but also doesn't see her as a human or
Right.
a person.
It's very much her role.
Right.
And in this chapter, you were going to say something?
Nope.
That was an I'm going to say
I
something.
thought we were
Grace.
going to go on to the next chapter.
Yeah, just last thing, and we're going to go to the next chapter. It'll tie in. She makes a comment about Hawk where like a little glimmer in his eyes, and I'm like, he knows exactly who she is.
Yeah, 1,000% he knows who she is.
I don't think he was ever fooled.
No.
I think
Okay.
he knows from, like,
Why else would he volunteer at the funeral to watch her?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and moving ahead, chapter 12, but he says there that he had noticed her watching him while training.
yes.
And so it was like, oh, he already
He
kind of
knows exactly who
recognized.
she is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead. Yeah.
in chapter 11, Hawk becomes her new guardian,
Right.
protector person. And she takes her veil off.
I did not realize that it was like a thing like
Chainmail.
yeah, or
Yeah.
and completely covered like
Yeah, I assumed it was like a wedding veil. Like in
Yeah.
front of her face, but like
Right.
like a Jewish wedding veil where it's in front of your face and then it's like revealed. But it's like chained. They had to like undo some links.
right. Like this is not what she looks like, but like for whatever reason I can't get out of my head like Man in the Iron Mask type of
Yeah.
thing where she has her head is encased in a thing. I don't know. It's not that, but like that's the vision that came into my head.
Yeah, I think it's chainmail.
I mean, it does completely obscure her face.
Yeah.
So.
And so she undoes that, and the Duke is basically like, look how ugly she is.
Yeah.
Bask in her ugliness. And Hawk is like, okay.
No, he called her beautiful.
He did call her beautiful, and he also, when he swore his oath to her,
Oh.
he swore it to Penelope and not to the maiden.
That's right.
He swore it to her as a person and not her as a role, which we know is important to her because she feels like everybody just sees her as the maiden and not as Poppy.
That's kind of quick, though, no? Like, they had no relationship at all, so like...
Yeah, their whole thing is quick. They almost boned in chapter 2.
No,
like,
they did. They were real close.
They were real close.
She was ready.
It was getting soupy.
She got the ingredients. She had the water boiling,
Stirring the pot.
Stirring it.
And he was like,
Just
keep that
didn't
on.
heat it
He was
up all
like,
the
keep
way.
that on the simmer. I'll be right back. And she was like, I don't got any more broth. I gotta leave.
You lost it in the end there.
You were really close, though. It was good.
And all right.
And I will say, so I'll leave my prediction for later.
All right. So in the last chapter, where we read up to chapter 12, she's struggling with her feelings for him that she's been doing for so many chapters, as you said. But then my new favorite character in this whole book, Tawny, is just like, tell me more. Like, she's just like this gossipy little schoolgirl. I love her. She's like, and what else happened? Oh my God, I have to know. She's the best, guys. She's the best.
She's you.
Yeah, she is. Come on, she's the best.
She's great.
She's like with her little friends, and like I see them having tea in the garden or something, right?
They don't
What
have
if-
other friends.
What if
No,
she
well, the other
turns
two-
on her?
What?
What if she turns on her?
She can't.
I don't know. The
She
fact
won't.
that Poppy keeps questioning, like, are we friends, makes me think that there is going to be.
That's
again,
because she has no
paths
trust.
in the woods here.
No trust. She's got trust issues. Everyone can be Tawny's friend.
So there's 2 other chicks in this chapter, 2 other ladies in wait who are not what?
I read a note that I wrote. Go ahead.
There's 2 other ladies in wait who are not assigned to Poppy. They're just ladies in wait. And they're chit-chatting about stuff. I don't remember. And I wrote, and maybe you guys can remind me what I meant, but I wrote weird gift thing with the other ladies. What happened with her gift in this chapter? Was she like trying to use it and like couldn't?
Oh,
She was
yeah.
not trying to use it, but it activated, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which also happened during the funeral.
Right.
So it's happened twice now to her in a short period of time that without trying to reach out to somebody, her gift like forges a connection
Yeah.
with them and she can read their emotions.
And she can also, like you said, like they went into a little bit where it's like, I was picturing this thing in my mind, like to try to calm them down, right?
Yeah.
Is that what it was?
Yeah. But the other girls are crushing on Hawk.
Hardcore.
Yeah.
And they're acting crazy to try to get Hawk to help them. And he
Right.
like knows it. It feels like, in the episodes of The Office where Idris Elba shows up
Oh,
and
yeah.
he's like, I'm aware of the effect I have on women. Like that's how this feels to me. It's like he just like knows.
So I wrote Tawny, best character in the book, was talking to Poppy, and she was like, look, girl. I know Ryland just died, but this is a vast improvement. And I wrote, girl, calm down.
It's too much. It's
much.
like everyone is so thirsty for Hawk. It's like, is there anyone else attractive in the
this
whole
world?
kingdom?
And then I wrote, Tawny also said, my hormones are always clouding my rational thought. Thank you very much. And I wrote, girl is a sous chef.
Oh my God.
All she's thinking about is soup and the ingredients. She's going shopping.
I hate it. I also I don't know. Sometimes Tawny and Poppy's dialogue takes me out of the era that I think we're supposed to be in.
Yeah.
I think this is a general, every fantasy story is vaguely medieval, right? And so sometimes their dialogue feels super modern and it kind of pulls me out of the timeline a little bit. And maybe that's I'm projecting the medieval shit onto this story. But I don't know. They're she's wearing a chain link veil and they're holding court and that doesn't happen.
I see it medievally as well. It takes me out a little bit, but
Yeah.
in a fun way. I don't know.
And the Duchess doesn't talk like that. I don't know.
Let's see. Do I have anything? Kim, you want to join in with anything?
No.
So when they're having that conversation, she's also talking to her, and then she's talking about Hawk, but like, so Tawny knows that Poppy was with Hawk for a bit.
Right. Poppy had originally talked to her about the Red Pearl and that she was there, but she never said that she saw Victor, and she never explained what happened with Hawk. And now she's explained what happened with Hawk, but she still hasn't told her that Victor was there.
But when they're talking about the Red Pearl with the rest of the group, Tawny says to the group, and like looking at Poppy, she's like, I imagine he does whatever. I imagine he does what everyone does when they go there, and he finds someone to spend quality time with. And she like looks at Poppy. I'm like, I love you so much. Just put your friend in the spot, please. Keep doing it. All right, so then we get to the last chapter that we read, and they have a big meeting with the Dutch and Duchess. We learn about this guy, the Prince Castile, who is the Dark One.
What are you talking about?
Right here, right?
This is not the big meeting with the Duke and Duchess.
Oh, sorry. Well, basically, okay. So the end of the chapter 12 ends with her going. She's talking with the Duke, right? And then the Duke tells Hawk to leave.
Yes, and Lord Farquaad is there.
Lord Farquaad is there, or he comes back?
He's there.
He's there.
Okay.
In the room.
And that's how the chapter ends.
Yep.
And they're all like maniacal laughs. Ha
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 ha ha ha ha.
And that's all we know.
Did you read ahead?
I did not.
Good job.
Did not.
You're not supposed to read ahead. So
I glanced at the next page, but couldn't immediately see anything that
I did too.
indicated.
I didn't read. I skimmed the first page.
Yeah. But didn't immediately see anything that indicated what was going to happen next.
So we have, I don't know, like 9 minutes before we have to go. So we have to wrap this up.
Okay.
Right? I think, right? Am I right?
I don't know.
I don't know when the bell's going to ring.
Me neither.
All right. So
We've worked here for a decade. I don't know when the bell rings.
it's true. Does anybody, just some questions before we move forward, before we get your thoughts on where we're going. Some questions are, do we think that Poppy's going to still struggle with Ryland's guilt? What's going to be Poppy and Hawk's relationship? Is that going to get like, is like Poppy going to realize that he knows, right? And what's going on with the Dark One? What's the threat there?
All right, we're going to be dragging out this, like, does he recognize me from the Red Pearl for at least, I'm going to put money on 3 more chapters.
Got it.
I'll say 2. 2 more chapters.
You know what? I'm going 4.
All right.
4 chapters.
All right, so the over-under is 3. And then, but like, yeah, he definitely knows who she is, so that's going to come up, and then we're going to get some soup, I guess.
Yep.
I don't know if the soup is coming in the next
chapters.
2 chapters per my.
2 chapters?
Yeah, that's my
Too early,
guess.
I think.
And it's been since chapter 2 since we've had soup. This is supposed to be a spicy
I
book.
think we're going to, so spoilers.
We need some peppers.
We're reading 8 chapters before our next episode. So I do believe we're going to get some soup somewhere in those 8 chapters, but I don't know where. Yeah, I don't know. So that's what's happening with the guard. And I don't know what's happening with the Right and the Dark One and the Ascended and the different kinds of vampires. I'm very confused. I'm making no predictions regarding that at all. We still don't really know what the Maiden is.
We don't know what the Maiden is, and I don't know, like, what's going on. Like, what's the point?
There's too many bad guys in this story.
Yeah.
Like, where's the point? Like, what is the thing that where's the end goal?
And
That's
then
my
there's the
question.
Mist. Oh, they like Hawk as the commander wanted Hawk to be her guard because, like, eventually she's going to have to go into the Mist.
To go to the capital city.
He's got time. He's spent time outside of the Rise. And so he's going to be good at going into the Mist, I guess. I need a glossary.
Got one right here. Got some characters.
No, I need to, but
Thank you, ChatGPT, aka Lyric, for the glossary. First off, to those questions, I don't think we're ever going to hear about Ryland again.
Yeah, I think he's
Because I
gone.
feel like these characters move on so fast.
Well, there's the guy before Ryland that died.
Right.
Too.
Oh, like Jack.
Haynes.
I'm gonna call him Jack.
Yeah, it's like Haynes or something. Haynes, who knows?
Oh, it's Hans.
Hans, sure.
I don't think it's either of those things.
So my
And
prediction
his
here.
friend was with the reindeer.
Nope, that's that Hans is not the one who's friends with the reindeer. That's Kristoff.
Right.
Hans is the bad guy.
Hans is the bad guy, just like Lord Farquaad.
Oh my god.
Okay, so my prediction is... So I think Hawk is some kind of dissenter, whatever, who is fighting for the quote-unquote Dark One, who is probably a good guy. And he was well aware of who the maiden was and wants her to be on their side. And so he has finagled himself to be her personal guard so he can, like, get her to their cause. And apparently he says this in chapter 7 or 8, that he is very good at killing.
He does say that.
So I am also going to make the assumption that he probably is already some kind of vampire zombie being because he can kill things. Or he is just really good at killing them.
I'm fine with that.
I'll go a little bit of a different route, similar but different. So I think that Hawk has put himself in this position, right? I know I said the Dark One is going to be the good guy, but like let's go with what the picture that they're painting for me. Maybe the Dark One is the bad guy. If that's the way we're going, I'll lean to it currently. And I think Hawk put himself there to protect Poppy. She's needed for something. Like the Dark One needs her for a thing. Power, something. I don't know. Sacrifice. I don't know that yet. But I'll tell you what I do know, because I told this to you two already, that I said that Poppy was going to fall in love with a vampire, and she will, because Hawk is a vampire. He's in the... Thank you. That means I was right. I got a point for that. He's an Atlantean. He's going to be a vampire, and he put himself here to save her and protect her. That's what I think is going to happen.
I don't know what I think is going to happen. I do think we all get a point for identifying that Hawk was going to be her new guard. Shouts out to us.
Yeah, you two get the point for both thinking that. I hadn't considered that, but that was really smart.
What do I think is going to happen next? I think there's going to be some more, like, yucky stuff with Lord Farquaad. I think he's more important than we know right now.
Does he work for the Dark One?
Well, not if the Dark One's good.
Well, if the Dark One's bad, does he work? Does Farquaad work with the bad guy? Is what I'm asking.
I don't know, man. I just want to know what all the vampires are. I'm just confused. I don't have any predictions other than that I hope that I learn to know what all the vampires are. I'm just confused.
Hopefully by 50% of the way through this book.
Right, we'll be 50% of the way through the book.
We will know.
What chapter are we reading up
Okay, so
to?
we read through chapter 12, and now we're going to read through chapter 20. So that's the next 8 chapters.
Great.
And I believe there's 41 chapters total.
Yep.
So we'll be about halfway through the book.
And then I'm thinking just ahead. So once we get to chapter 20, maybe we can do 10 a week and bang it out in 2 weeks.
Yep, that was my hope as well.
Great. So there we go, everybody. Our homework is to read through chapter
20.
I'm not good at this.
I don't know why this is so hard.
This is really
for you.
difficult. So what chapter do we need to stop at?
Read the end of chapter 20.
When
you open the book and see
There you go.
chapter 21, don't read.
Stop reading.
That's it.
Do not pass go.
No.
Do not collect $200.
You read to the end of chapter.
Don't even skim.
Don't
even
skim.
You read to the end of chapter 20.
So, yeah, if you have any questions or would like to be part of this conversation, please add something down in the comments, or you can email us at romantasyroundtable@gmail.com.
Look at us.
You got a thing.
So fancy.
And go support a local bookstore.
Yes, this podcast is brought to you by the Ripped Bodice. It's not actually sponsored by the Ripped Bodice. It's fake sponsored by the Ripped Bodice because we took a Romantasy Roundtable field trip to the Ripped Bodice last week. They are a local romance bookstore, super queer friendly, local to Brooklyn. They also have one in Los Angeles in case we have any West Coast listeners. And we love them.
So we sponsored them.
We sponsored them.
Therefore,
they didn't sponsor us.
They can sponsor us.
We love them. Find your local bookstore and tell us about it. We'd love to go to more bookstores.
We read.
We read now.
Bye, guys.
Bye.